I'm Bryan Catherman with SaltyBeliever.com, and I want to recommend this book, The Shorter Catechism Explained from Scripture by Thomas Vincent. This particular copy is a Puritan Paperback. They ran with a new cover and a new typeset in 2021. They originally published this, the Banner of Truth did, in 1980, and this was first published in 1674. Thomas Vincent, its author, lived between 1634 and 1678. He was connected with John Owen. He was a Puritan. And you're probably asking the question, if I'm not a Presbyterian, and if I'm not really anchored to the Westminster Confession and the longer and the Shorter Catechism, why would I want to read this particular book? I'm going to tell you why. Because what this book does is it gives you a really nice picture of theology, and it basically just uses the Shorter Catechism as a framework by which it goes through. So what happens here is you have Vincent taking questions. So here's the very first one. An explanation of the Assembly Shorter Catechism. Question: what is the chief end of man? Answer: man's chief end is to glorify God and to enjoy Him forever. Okay, so we're probably familiar with that question. But then what Thomas Vincent does is he breaks it into a whole bunch of sub-questions. So kind of sub-question one. Question: what is meant by the chief end of man? And then he goes on with an explanation. May men have no other chief end than to glorify and enjoy in God? That's question two. And he goes on and on with, in some cases 10, 12, 13, 14 questions. In this case, 9 questions that have scripture and quotation. And so what I did reading through this book is I just took it a little bit at a time, and it was sort of a way to just kind of go through theology in a robust way. I would read a question, and then I would read his sub-questions, and then I'd put it down. Then I'd pick it up again, and I'd read another question, and then I'd read his sub-question. In a lot of cases, for example, question 20, did God leave all mankind to perish in the estate of sin and misery? And then he goes on to the answer. A lot of his sub-questions are a sub-question, and then he quotes a scripture. And then a sub-question, and then he quotes a scripture. So this isn't going to be, you're cozy up next to a fire and get your cup of coffee and just really dial in. This is more of a systematic theology book that you can read devotionally, or maybe you just, have it on the shelf, pull it off the shelf when you want to look at particular issues that a particular question covers, and you can go through that and learn and then put it back on the shelf. It's just a really great addition to have, especially if you're collecting some of the Banner of Truth Puritan Paperback books. I mean, if you have all of them, then you probably have this on your shelf. Don't forget it. Pull it out. If you don't have it, I want to highly recommend it. It's the Shorter Catechism Explained from Scripture by Thomas Vincent. It's a Puritan paperback published by Banner of Truth. I highly recommend it.